Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite chilled after that last episode.
Yeah, that was fun. I got very passionate about it. For those that may not listen to it, go back and check out, the previous one probably to this, depending on when the team gets them out there. We're talking about the one life. Definitely make sure you guys go over to thepowerfulman.com/GAP, GAP, and get the worksheet for that. If you haven't heard, if you guys want to hear me passionate about something, listen to the podcast all the way through. I was trying to contain myself at the same time. I'm so passionate about the idea. I want everybody listening to this to get what they want, the life that they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Especially when you realize how easy it is. Not that, there aren't challenges, but in my opinion, and we see this with the guys in the inner circle and the brotherhood and the activation method, there's a way to do it, right? Doesn't mean that you don't experience challenges, but you just experience them very differently. And the journey becomes very different. It's kind of like the path of power versus the path of force, one destination, two paths. And the guys are on the path of force when they come to us. And, that's what gets them in this position of the five agonies of no man's land. And then when they learn to shift to the path of power, then it's just different. It's just a very different experience. Which kind of leads into what I want to talk about today. Your business is a reflection of you.
Tell me more.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'd agree, right? A lot of the guys that come to us, their business, although it's financially successful, for most of the guys, it's a lot more like a high-paying job than a business. Because usually they either don't pay them, some of them don't pay themselves enough, even if the business is doing 8 figures, 7 figures, even 9 figures. Some of them don't pay themselves what they really are worth or what they could pay themselves. And they still find themselves getting sucked into everything, right? They really struggle to let go and build something that can really thrive without them. And as a result, there's a lot of chaos in their business. They're getting sucked into a lot of decisions. They're working long hours. It doesn't really run without them to a degree. And this is often a reflection of how they live their life, right? They scramble and struggle to find time to work out. They scramble and forget things, little jobs that the wife might have asked them to do on the house. Little things that they've wanted to do for themselves. They put them on the back burner, and before they know it, it's been 2 years. I've been wanting to do that for 2 years. And it really is all one of the same thing, really, And we could point to a few different things here, but I think that the main thing I want to talk about is the idea of accountability here. Because the shifts that we see for the men that are in the brotherhood and the inner circle, and even to the activation method to a degree, one of the big shifts that occur for them in business is when they really start to shift how they lead. Mm-hmm. And they shift how they lead in the business because naturally they've shifted how they lead themselves personally, right? So it naturally carries over into business. And one part of that is they're holding themselves accountable to a higher standard. Yes, they're in certain conversations with men that might be a few steps ahead of them, so that by default holds them accountable. But they also obviously use the chart of intentional living and other tools. They hold themselves accountable to a higher standard, which does what? It means they hold everyone else around them to a higher standard as well. Even their wife, boundaries come into play. With the staff, clarity starts to creep in, right? Clarity on where the business is going, clarity on who is responsible for what within the company, outcomes, not tasks, outcomes. And then it's a case of, hey, we said this was going to be the outcome and it hasn't happened. Why hasn't it happened? And they're able to have very clear conversations because they're able to come from that, come into that conversation. See Paddy in the background, dog sitting. They're able to come into that conversation with integrity, right? Because they are holding themselves accountable in their own lives. They've been doing it consistently. They now feel able to hold others accountable as well. It doesn't come from a place of comparison. It comes from a place of knowing, because it's who they are being. It's a value that they now have, right? Which then invites others around them to rise and grow as well, which also means in their business, a lot more freedom is created. So I'm kind of curious, what's been your experience in witnessing this in the movement?
Oh, 100% agree. First of all, I want to talk about, if I can, Tim, I used to be in this role, right? I ran, as you know, my 20s, I ran 3 companies, and the companies only rose as far as I rose, right? And I think a company is a reflection of the leadership and the leader themselves. So when things were chaotic in my relationships or my personal life, the businesses were chaotic. And then I would be running around putting out the fires in the businesses, not realizing that really it was the chaos within inside of me and that was going on within inside of me that was a reflection of that. And I also wanted to be everybody's friend, right? I wanted to be the good guy, hey, the owner would go out and get drinks at happy hour. I'm in my 20s, right? And going out and doing those things. Fast forward to today, because of the movement, because of working with so many men that we have, business leaders, you see patterns. You'd be a moron not to witness the patterns and go, okay, these guys are all super intelligent. They're successful. And you're watching them play out a lot of these things that they're playing out in their marriage or their health are playing out in their business. And so you see that a lot. I mean, yesterday, as you know, I went off on the team. So there's part of the team within the Powerful Man movement that I'm responsible for. And these guys are all A players. A lot of these guys, a lot of them have graduated the program, have decided to stay on because it's a common thing where guys are like, this has changed my life in ways that I couldn't even imagine possible. I want to help out. And I hold myself to a very high standard as you do. And a lot of the guys listening to this do. And so I hold the team the same standard. And I said, look, guys, it's one thing if you're not smart enough. It's one thing if you're not capable. But when you make mistakes and you are smart enough and you are capable, that's when I have a problem. That's when you're going to see me angry. I don't get angry very often, but I was pretty pissed. And the reason I was pissed is I'm passionate about what we do. We don't sell widgets. We change men's lives. And by changing men's lives, we change the lives of their wives and of their children. Even men who get divorced, the life of their wife, their ex-wife, changes because she is seeing this man kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes and really stepping into his greatness. Now, she's going to miss out on that, right? If they're divorced. Sometimes they reconcile. That happens occasionally. Not often, but occasionally. But always the man's ex sees him rise and gets a little jealous, right? But the guys that are together, like, we don't sell widgets. We change men's lives. So that level of accountability that I hold myself to, I hold the team to. But back what it used to be for me, when I didn't hold myself to that standard, that high standard, I let myself slide. You're tired today. No need to go running, even though you said you were going to. Everybody makes mistakes. No big deal. My team would do the same thing. They would follow suit. But now, and you're great at this, Tim, and I know this is something you've really dived deeply into in the last 6 months or so. And I say deeply, guys. I mean, Tim is diving deeply. When somebody says, hey, I'm going to start studying a subject, Tim buys every book, takes every course, talks to every leader he can, a professional. It's a deep, deep dive, and you're doing a great job of it. But again, yesterday, I left a message to the whole team. I was like, guys, this is not good enough. And the reason it's not good enough is because you're better. And I related it, and I think a lot of guys can relate to this too. I played soccer at a relatively competitive level until my mid to late 30s, so a long time. And we'd lose, right? We'd lose games like you do with any sport. And when I played my heart out, and my team did, and we lost, we were all still happy. It was a weird feeling, right? Oh, you lost. Yeah, but we left it all on the field. Like, we played a hard game. And when you do that hard game, even if the other team wins, the other team respects you more, right? Because they know you played all. They were better that day. Maybe they're better every day. Who knows? But they respect you and you respect yourself. So everybody walks off the field head up. Of course, you want to win. Like, I love winning. I hate losing. If you meet me in person, if we're playing ping pong or throwing, wadded paper into a trash can, I want to win. But when you put it all on the line and you hold yourself accountable to that high standard, as you're talking about, Tim, it's a different feeling. And you could be the best team in the world, and we step onto that field and on that pitch and you win, but yet you didn't really play full out. It's boring. It sucks. It's unfulfilling. When I've seen, like you, with a lot of men coming into the movement, is when we see their tendencies, that they're not holding up to their own standards, we know right away with 100% certainty that the same thing's going on in their business. Right? We work with business owners. The business owners we work with are successful. These are smart men. These are guys like you listening to this or watching this right now. They're smart guys. They know what they're doing. But they look around them and their business is as chaotic as their relationship.
Mm-hmm. And the same thing they do in their relationship, they do in the business. Let's say they avoid conflict in the relationship because it's easier. Guess what? They often avoid conflict in business because it's easier. Yeah. If they fail the test that their wife gives them and they want to save them and rescue her and please her, guess what? They have a tendency to step into business and save and rescue people there too. And I can think of many men I've spoken to over the past few weeks in particular who this definitely applies to. Some guys joined the program, some guys didn't. But the patterns that they shared with me, and they didn't see it, and this isn't anything against them, but they didn't understand the link between why there was such a high turnover of staff in their company, because the staff would just walk all over them. To a degree, there'd be no accountability until they then blow up and speak badly and in a way that's inappropriate to a degree to the staff, and the staff then leave. Well, then he goes home and his wife and kids, they haven't upheld their side of the bargain either with doing what they said they would do. And what ended up happening? He would then end up doing those jobs until, guess what? He would then blow up. And his wife and his kids would say, God, you're so angry. Why does it always have to end this way with you? Just relax, Dad. And then what happened? So again, the cycle just continued. I think a lot of guys, this is such an opportunity for anyone listening to this that this might even remotely resonate with, for you to just look at some of the biggest complaints that you have in your business, and then look at some of the biggest complaints you have in your relationship, and just see if there's actually a link there. Because I bet there is.
Yeah. I mean, as you do, you guys have heard this before, right? As you do one thing, you do all things. If you half-ass it in your workouts, if you half-ass it in your relationship, you're going to half-ass it in your business. Now, sometimes guys most of us men, at least I did too, we hide out in our business, meaning we put our focus, our energy there because we're good at it, right? We get our accolades. People are like, you're so smart, right? I used to hear that all the time. You're so smart. I can't believe you did this, or you built the business to that, or all these things you've overcome. And I loved it. It filled me up, gave me significance. But when I realized, right, that my business only grew to the level that I was playing at, that was a harsh pill to swallow, Tim. It's a harsh pill to swallow. When I looked at my staff at the time, because one of my businesses was a brick and mortar, when I looked at the staff there, that staff was directly a reflection of me, their attitudes, their work environment. Otherwise, I would have got rid of them, right? The gossip or whatever it was, or the lack of gossip, the abundance or the scarcity. That was a reflection of me, the owner, not them. Now, at the time, I was in my 20s, young guy. I had a business mentor, thank goodness. I was smart enough to get a coach, and I've always had a coach. And he told me, he's like, Doug, this isn't them. This is you, right? This is you. Otherwise, they wouldn't stick around. If their standards were higher, they would have left.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If their standards were too low, they would have left. But their standards equal yours. And so when I'm looking at these people, right, that are working for me, and I'm looking at them as if their standards are low, and their standards were lower in the work environment for me, but they were equal to the standards I was having in other areas of the 5 territories for me. And I didn't put that together till much later. Right? It was a reflection, right? Hindsight's 20/20, they say. And I agree. Right? It's easy to look backwards and go, that's it. That's it. Because guys, if you're having staff problems, or your staff isn't producing, or sales guys aren't selling enough, or maybe it's operations or fulfillment, or something's not working as well as you want them to, and it's your team, that's a reflection of you. Right? Because if your standards and your accountability is super high for yourself and for what you hold everybody else to, they're going to wash out. They're going to like, wow, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. I want to go smoke weed, sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Same thing. If your standards are too low, your accountability is low, A players, they're not going to stick around. They're not, or they're going to sink, right? They're going to sink down to that level. And so I invite you guys to look around you right now. Look at your leadership team, if not everybody else. Are they all A players? Are they all A players? Now, I would invite you, if you want to take this a step deeper, which a lot of the men do, especially the guys that have joined our inner circle or our brotherhood programs, the guys that are committed to just really living what we call the fuck yes life, right? Not only look at your leadership team on how they're stepping up in business, but how are they stepping up elsewhere? Now, I know you're going to say, some of the guys are like, whoa, that's none of my business. What is? You're the leader. Where are they in their health? Because if they're letting their health slide, they're going to let areas of the business slide. They just are, right? Because standards. If they're letting their relationship, their duties as a father. Now, I don't want to get into what fathers are supposed to do, have to do, et cetera. If you are interested, we do have a program we're launching called The Powerful Father. It's friggin' phenomenal. Right? If you go over to thepowerfulfather.com, you can get on the waiting list. I think we got a number of guys that are on that waiting list already. So that is available right there to get on that. But what I'm talking about is what it means for you to be a father, right? Or them. Are they doing what they say they want to do? Or in their marriage, right? I want a loving, respectful marriage. I want intimacy. I want sex. But they're not putting the work in. They're not putting their money where their mouth is. You know, there's financial capital, of course, but time, energy is really what I'm talking about here. Right? If they're not doing it, odds are they're going to be lacking that in business too. Somewhere is leaking. And the same thing holds true, right? For you. If you're not investing in your marriage and it's not working, people around you know. They know. Guys, we always know. We don't want anybody else to know what we're doing, but you see behind the guys at your work, you see behind their masks, their lies, and what's really happening when they come in tired and sluggish because they're unfulfilled or they've been drinking too much or what have you. You know, they're not really hiding it. Maybe you can hide it a few times, but you can't hide it over a long period of time. Are the guys around you A players, the guys and girls? If they're not, and you want to be an A player, and you are an A player, then you need to rise first. And if those that are around you do not rise with you, they got to go. They'll wash out anyway, but they just let them go. Let them go play with the B team. That's cool, right? They want to be B players. The A players will stick around. The A players will fill those slots. I believe, Tim, there's more A players than people think out there. And the problem is not that there's not enough great employees or great staff. The problem is the A players don't have slots to go into because they're occupied by B and C players.
Mm-hmm.
And B and C players are comfortable, right? Let me play at a B and C level. Cool. They're not going anywhere, right? Those are the guys that, you're at your work when, you're supposed to be there from 8 to 5, let's just say a classic job. And it's 4:45 and they're shutting down the computer. They're out the door at 5 o'clock or before. That's not an A player. Now, granted, some people have schedules, et cetera. No, the A players aren't even looking at the clock. Right? And you guys know the difference. And if you have those guys in your team, on your staff, in your company, then it's time to do some soul searching. Where am I doing that in my life? And that's the question I asked myself. That's what my coach, who's actually more of a mentor to me, asked me. He's like, where is this showing up for you in your life, Doug? This guy ran $1 billion company. I was lucky enough to be in Santa Barbara, California, a lot of wealthy people, young kid, and he was willing to take me under his wing, so to speak. I was like, what do you mean? Where does this show up for me? Like, what is this hippie stuff? This guy obviously knew what he was talking about. So I looked at it and I found places, my relationships, my health. I was really healthy then. But I was like, I'm not doing everything I'm saying I'm going to do. Okay. So if I'm not keeping my word to myself, how am I going to expect people to keep their word? I'm the leader. It comes from the top down, guys. Right? If I'm not really investing in my relationship, how am I going to expect people to invest in their education, their personal development, their business, and things like that, to my business? Now, what came interesting for me, Tim, is people knew that my wife and I were having problems. I mean, I took off for a month, right? I went down to a beach house and worked out of there and just really to collect myself. And I was getting ready to leave. But everybody knew I was working on it. Everybody knew my wife was working on it too, working hard. At the time, there was no powerful man at the time, but there was such a shorter journey, man. Oh my God, so much pain, money, everything to be avoided for my wife and me and the people around us. But people respected the fact that I was working on it. I wasn't just saying that I wanted a good marriage. I was friggin' putting in the work. I wasn't just saying I wanted to do something. I was putting in the work. And what I found happened is my business grew. You and I have talked about this. I was out of the business and my business did better than ever. The reason being is the people around me knew that my standards were high enough and I was stepping up in all areas, all 5 territories, right? Doesn't mean it's going perfectly for me, but I'm rising to those standards. And guess what? When I was gone, my staff rose because they cared and they knew that was the standard. The standard wasn't just talking about it. I hope this will happen someday. I hope things will get better if I just wait it out. No. Subconsciously, and one of the women still works for me, as you know, Tim. They're like, yeah, like we knew you were putting in the time and the effort, and we knew that that's what you do. You work for Doug. That's just what you do. And no one really talked about it or thought about it. It's just the way it was. And this is a direct reflection, right? When my business wasn't working well, it was a direct reflection of what was going on for me. It goes both ways.
Certainly does. It certainly does. And again, if guys are listening to this and maybe they're struggling in their relationship and they're going into work and maybe some of the headspace is taken up by the worries of what's going on at home and it's causing them to be a bit more short-tempered or indecisive. And, the opposite is also true here. And that's a great thing. They are linked. Every area of your life is linked. And your business, especially if you're a business owner, is a great place for you to sit back, take stock, and get some great intel on what the gaps are for you right now. If your staff are not performing and what's going on there? They're not delivering on time? Interesting. How am I doing that? Because the reality is, guys, if you wasn't doing that, you wouldn't accept them doing it. So anywhere where you are tolerating something and accepting it, chances are it's because you're doing it too.
So true. So Tim, what are a couple of things the guys can do right now if they find themselves like I did, early on as a business owner, and a lot of our guys find themselves in today? What are a couple of things they can do right now?
Yeah, I think just take stock of your business. Write down all of your complaints, be it with individuals, be it with teams, be it with the company. Write them all down. He doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. They do this. This doesn't happen. And just then have a look. Okay, how do I do this? Do I do this? And if you do, how do you do it, right? Look, write down all the complaints with your wife. She does this, she doesn't do that, she says this. Okay. How do I do that? And just take stock. And I think you're going to get some great optics on what you can change.
Love it. Guys, this is the time to take action, right? This is the time to take stock, as we always say. And the moment of insight is the time to get things done. So if the people around you, you look around and it's not going as well as you'd like, the people around you aren't stepping up, as Tim says, right? Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your employees. It's time to look internally and look at where you are. Then take massive action. Massive action, guys. It's where it is. You're a leader. You're a man. You're a powerful man. And being a powerful man means being decisive. It means taking massive action when you know you need to. Just like you would with defending your family. You're just now defending your family by taking care of you. And that's the best way to do it. Fortify your castle, your internal castle. Fortify it and make it strong. Tim, love you bringing this topic to the table. As always, such a great conversation point. Gentlemen, if you've been with us for a little while, love it if you leave an authentic review wherever you find this. It's just how other guys find this. You know the deal. It's just a great way. If it's giving you any insights, help us reach other men. Tim and I do this just because we enjoy it, as well as the other guests that we bring on. So, gentlemen, that's a wrap for us for this episode of The Powerful Man Show. As always, take massive action. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.